All right, hi, I'm Jennifer Ackerman Haywood with CraftSanity.com, and this is Jonathan Lopez, and he is my special guest today. We're going to make a Mother's Day present, because John, you told me that you don't normally make Mother's Day presents.
Well, we don't really give stuff in general, but figured,
that changes today, folks.
We got to do something a little special.
Yes.
You know?
Okay, so as many of you know, I make weaving looms like this, and those are used to make pot holders like this. And these are made out of t-shirts. So John brought over some of his t-shirts that are kind
lesser shape.
Yeah, not that great. I've seen better days. So we're going to cut these up, and we're going to make a nice pot holder for his mother. And I think she's going to be pretty surprised.
All right, so, I guess, how difficult is this?
How difficult is this?
Yeah,
Oh, I've taught children how to do this.
Oh, well.
So I think if you can't do this, then we probably shouldn't air the video. I think you're going to be fine, John. You're going to be just fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through the process of taking these t-shirts and turn them into loopers like this that you can weave with. And we're also going to show you folks, if you don't have t-shirts that you want to cut up, they're just really precious to you, we'll show you how you can use jersey knit yardage as well and get a bunch of colors and cut those up. So what we're going to do to get started is we're going to cut up a shirt, and I think we said we were going to go with the brown at first, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So what I'm using here is a rotary cutter, cutting mat. Now my cutting mat has been through some stuff with me, but I keep using it. There's no reason to get another one. This one works. So first thing we're gonna do is just take the t-shirt, and first thing I do is I remove the sleeves. Okay, so you've not used a rotary cutter yet, right?
Not on fabric.
Okay, all right. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take apart some of this stuff here, and then we'll let you do some of the easier cuts. Now, notice I did not measure this. I didn't say a Hail Mary. You just cut. Just go ahead and cut. Don't worry about it. So I cut both the sleeves off, and you can throw these aside. Now, the sleeves, you can make loopers out of those, but we sweat in the underarm area, and it's not really...
If you have scented deodorant, too.
Yeah, it could be kind of a funky pot holder to give your mom. Yeah, we're not going to do that.
Can you imagine? You get you got a hot plate on there, and the aroma comes out?
Yeah, that would be... I haven't really thought about that, John, but yeah, that would be very unpleasant, to say the least. Okay, so I'm cutting off the bottom of this. Now, I have a bigger loom that I use where I weave with these.
Yeah. Nothing
is really wasted in this house, which is kind of problematic. The part off camera, folks, that you can't see is quite an eyesore. I'm going to just be full disclosure here, and John, you can attest to that, right? Yeah, but because he's my friend, he's not going to take photos of that to show you folks.
that you know of. So.
Oh, my. Yeah, hopefully this doesn't blow up in my face. Okay, so, all right. So now that we have the t-shirt, the sleeves are cut off, that bottom hem is cut off, and I'm just laying it out here on this cutting mat. And now if you want to be fancy, you can use one of these guys here. And this is just one of those templates, plastic templates, that you can gauge your measurements, which is kind of nice. So if you want to I usually do these about every 2 inches or 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches is actually fine with this thickness. So what you're going to do is just just slice it here. But I'm doing these about 1.5 inches. You can do them 2 inches. It kind of comes down to preference. I'm trying to maximize the brown from this. Now, you can get a lot of loopers out of one shirt, as you can see. You can get quite a few here. Now, John, I'm going to have you do a couple of these here.
Okay.
Because if I do everything, then we want to make sure that you're learning some things during this video. And you got to put it right in that groove.
Okay.
And push down. And then you're going to move over to 3 here.
Yeah.
You can do the math. You're probably better at math than I am, so you know what to do. We will use above that, but we're not going to worry about that right now. So we're going to just throw that out of the shot. Okay. All right. So we have our strips here, and what you can do is just I usually pile these up a little bit. Now,
is there like a better size of shirts? Like if you're working with a kid's shirt, is it going to be harder than working with an adult shirt?
Obviously if you can get your hands on some double X, if you have a friend that's a double XL and he's getting rid of his shirts, ask him for the shirts, because obviously you get more loopers out of a bigger shirt. But if I see a kid's shirt and it's cute, a nice color, teal or pink or something, then I'm going to cut it and try to maximize that too. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to cut off. This has a hem. Some of the shirts don't have a hem, like I think this one over here does not have a hem on the side.
That's like a cheap $5 shirt. These were Eddie Bauer shirts that were like $15 each.
That were cutting up. So how painful is it for you to see this?
Oh, it was painful the day that they just bleached on the very first wash. So.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we have here, I've cut those little hems off. And mine I wadded up, which is probably not a great idea. I threw them right out of the shot, but I'm just cutting the edge off. Because when you weave, you want to try to have all the hems out of the way, because it just makes it a little bit thicker. Okay, so I'm just going to make some stacks here. And these start to curl up a little bit on it, so you want to try to smooth them out. But this is not a perfect situation. Like, you don't have to, this does not have to be perfect. Some people stress out about, like, oh my goodness, it's not
iron it.
Yeah, don't waste your time on that, because you want to be weaving quickly. So okay, and I think what we'll do, we have enough to get the idea here. So we're going to be using the 17 peg Craft Sanity loom to do this. So there's 17 pegs on each side. So that means that we need to have 17 loopers across, and then another 17 that we're going to weave in. So do the math, John. How many
34.
are we going to? All right. So we're going to need 34 total. It was a little test. I didn't prep him for that. He just knows his math. All right. And now this, I sliced through this, no problem. It's not a problem at all. Just cut it off.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we have our piles here. Now on the Craft Sanity loom, this particular one, it's about a 10-inch square. Okay. So I cut loopers so they're about 8 inches. So you want it to stretch. You don't want it to be like caving in, so you want them to cut them smaller than you need. Now, I have told people that 8 inches is not like a rule of like, oh my gosh, it has to be 8 inches. It can be a little bit smaller, it can be a little bit larger. Some t-shirts are very stretchy, and in that case, sometimes it's not the right length. Now, normally I don't cut a whole pile, I cut one to see how it works. So I made that 8-inch cut, and this is a rectangle now, folded in half. Now to make a looper, we're going to round off those corners a little bit. Just get rid of some of that extra. And then you cut up the center from the fold, and then you have a looper. Okay, and so go ahead and put that on there and stretch it across and see if we get a good tension.
Just start at the center?
You can just start on an edge. It doesn't really, and you want to stretch over here.
All right. Wow, that has a lot of stretch.
Okay, so I think that's got pretty good tension though. And what I do is the part that was the top and bottom that I didn't cut, I left about a 1/2 inch there on each side. When I put it on the loom, I put it so it's kind of like in the middle.
Oh, okay.
So your edges are like this. And what that does is it just keeps the tension off the cut, because you made that cut and you don't want to have that there. Okay. So, all right. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep cutting these. And John, I'm going to have you turn these into loopers now. Let's see if you can make a looper now. Oh, you take one and you're going to fold it in half.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to take the scissors, round out the corners, just a little bit, not a big.
Like about a.
Yep, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You were just getting rid of some of that extra fabric.
Oop, that was a little misaligned.
Oh,
that one.
It doesn't matter. And just cut up the center from the fold. You want to make sure you cut from the fold, because if you cut from the outside, you get a letter H for Haywood. And while I like the letter H, it doesn't help me weave.
Well, it's kind of difficult to do standing. There we go. Okay,
all right, there you go. Okay, so now you open it.
All right.
And then you're going to put it back on this loom. And why don't you skip one, because I think we're going to use yellow here.
All right. So we stick that on there.
Yep. And then you can kind of... Yep, and you can kind of stagger those a little bit.
Okay.
So, all right, so we have 2 loopers here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to switch gears for a second, and we're going to set these aside. Now, if our complementary color is going to be yellow here, we're going to put some orange in too. And for orange, this is part of, for my scrap bag, this was a sleeve of a t-shirt fabric shirt. And I cut the bottom hem from the sleeve at the wrist area. I cut that off. And this is kind of an irregular shape up here at the top. I'm going to just cut this off too. Just cut straight across. I find that in scrap pieces you can use up later. So what I do is, if I'm trying to work with a particular color, now in this case you gotta kind of look at what you're working with here. Now I don't like having this hem here on the edge, so this is something I just cut this off too. And this is stuff that actually I do throw out. I do throw out some things. My husband is wondering what I actually throw out. bless the man for sticking with me. But so in this case, it's kind of an irregular shape. So once again, you know, we can get out our template here and slice this. Or I'm going to just show you, those of you who don't have one, don't think for a second that you need all kinds of expensive stuff. And none of this is really expensive. I think the rotary cutters are about $15. I bought this one 40% off yesterday at my local craft store. So I tend to be kind of abusive to my rotary cutters. I cut a whole lot, so I have to get new ones every so often. But they last a long time. Now I'm just eyeballing this. I'm not worried so much about if they're perfect. You shouldn't either. And if you don't have a rotary cutter, use your scissors. And it's going to be a little bit slower, but you can still do this. And if you're working with kids, they shouldn't really be using the rotary cutter anyway, because it's just a little dangerous for them. So again, you know, just stack these up, and we'll do some quick cuts here and just make these. And I actually, if you noticed, I kind of wadded them up, and now I'm redoing this. So if you're thinking deliberately about what you're doing, you will kind of carefully move them instead of wadding them up. But you know, don't worry. And I think the big thing with all the crafting projects that I do is I try to make sure that I'm having fun, my kids are having fun, and I don't worry about perfection, because I think that's a real block to creativity for a lot of people. And it's just really unfortunate, because when you're doing this kind of stuff, you don't want to put bad juju into a potholder for your mom, you know? That's just like,
there's something
you're like something that you like were swearing the whole time you were making it. Yeah, that would be bad. Okay, so let's see. This is going to be the test again. Do you remember how to make a looper?
Right,
let's try this one more time.
So, like, it's going to have a little different stretch to this, too.
This one will. Yep.
Okay.
And that'll kind of show you, too, that I probably could have cut those a little bit bigger, because that one's a tighter, it's a tighter stretch.
Alright. And then I'm just going to bring that over. And then just stagger that a little.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it has more give than the other one, I think.
Yeah, it's like, but they're totally different.
Yeah.
It's a different, all right, so there we go. We're on our way. Now, we're going to add another color to the mix here. And for those of you who don't have t-shirts, as I said, you can use jersey knit. This is sold by the yard, and it goes on sale all the time.
It's on sale. It's on sale somewhere.
Somewhere it'll be on sale. Okay, so what I did here is I just cut a piece off. Obviously, if you're not going to buy like yards and yards of this, and it's better if you get like, I don't know, I get probably like a quarter to a half yard, and otherwise if you start getting yards and you have big giant pieces, it gets a little unwieldy. So you can go in when it's on sale and get a mix of a bunch of different colors. And what I'm going to do here, and if you don't have, another tool here is if you don't have the cutting template, you can just use a straight edge. And that's if you don't want to. And I'm going through quite a few layers here, but this thing is awesome because it goes through a lot of layers, and this helps you just have a little more uniformity. And again, I don't worry so much about that usually, because I'm usually in a hurry. I don't sleep much. I gotta craft fast because I'd sleep even less if I went slower. So, all right, in this case, you can experiment with whatever you're cutting with, but you can go through several layers. So John, I'm going to have you cut these. You want to have 8 inch. Yep. Okay. And what do you think? Should we let the folks take a break while we cut all these loopers and then come back and do some weaving? Or what do you think?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we'll be right back.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are starting weaving for the first time, this is the way that I have a lot of people start when I'm teaching weaving, is because if you have every other one a different color, then you know, okay, I'm going to go under all the orange ones.